Hello and welcome to another edition of History After Hours Apocalypse podcast. This is November 9th and 2016, and for those who are maybe listening years later, and
if you have found this recording hidden.
This is the day after Trump surprised Hillary, and he is now our president-elect. And so right now, my name is Kevin Pumphrey, and with me is...
I am John Mark Pierce.
Mr. Franklin is being interviewed. He's a celebrity. He's in the other room, and he'll be joining us shortly with his opinions. But I think, this podcast is just... Well, we met at lunch. I was just like, we got to do something. We need to talk about this before we really can figure out what's going on or have any perspective. So this is just knee-jerk reaction to what happened last night with Trump.
Still the shock value of everything.
What was your students like? We're here at school. What was the climate in the classroom like today?
Well, first period, 7:55, 8 o'clock in the morning, I have my AP Art History class of 15 students. There's 13 young ladies in there. And so obviously the reaction is going to be staunchly different than my regular world history classes full of 10th grade young men. Right. So it's obviously going to be different. But first period, there was just... normally, even though it's first period, we're talkative, we're excited about school, we're excited about learning. We walked in today, there was just kind of an air about us. We were kind of all sitting on the floor, our heads were down. When I walked in, one student, she looked at me and just shook her head because she knew exactly what we were going to start talking about today. I think what you said, to kind of underscore the question you asked about how the air of class is right now. You said when Trump shocked Hillary. I think we need to amend that statement and say Trump shocked America. Trump shocked the world.
Exactly. I mean, we're trying to deal with this as history teachers, as people that teach about this stuff, and we're having trouble grappling. I mean, I don't think anyone... I remember I went to bed at 11:30 last night, right after Trump had won Florida, about that time. And I still was saying to myself, well, Clinton's going to win. I mean, at the end of the day, she's going to win. Trump's not going to win. And then I wake up this morning, and it's like I live in a different planet. Every professional poll got it wrong. Yep. Every major polling site that you go to, Trump had to win all this. It's going to be impossible. And he did it. He did it more than he needed to do. We also have another election where the president that won the popular vote lost the electoral. So, I think right now we're just trying to deal with emotions, trying to figure out, okay, we got to get this thing together. Did you catch Trump's acceptance speech?
I did watch President-elect Trump. I guess we need to start referring to him. I did catch his acceptance speech, and we've kind of mentioned this earlier just amongst ourselves. I was super impressed.
Me too.
In terms of, I guess we could use the term eloquence. How well he spoke, how professional he spoke, how presidential he spoke, how calm he was, how unselfish he was.
He didn't brag about himself once. He used the terms like we and us. He thanked all the people on the stage that helped made it possible. Look, the last several weeks, the Trump campaign kept saying, we're ahead, we're going to win. And I thought, well, they're just doing
They have to say that.
Maybe they knew something we didn't.
Maybe it was rigged, but not in the way he said it was.
That's right. Because they did win. Like Kellyanne Conway, what she was saying all these weeks that I thought was just fluff and just for them, that she has to be confident. Maybe she really was confident. And, okay, so now we are dealing with President Trump. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, I assume they ride off into the sunset.
I'm glad you said that because I was thinking about that earlier. Where do we go from here? Hillary, no matter if she ever does run for president again, obviously she's not the president now. No matter, if we stopped history right now, Hillary Clinton's history right now, we cannot degrade her impact on American politics.
Correct.
In terms of, womanhood, if you will, raising that glass ceiling as her kind of campaign has been. So I was wondering earlier. At this point, is let's say she runs again next election and she does win the presidency. Does that diminish? Does the fact that she ran this time and lost President Trump, does that diminish her presidency the next time if she does go?
Yeah, I can't even imagine her running again.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you get defeated by Obama in 2008. You become secretary. I think this was her shot. And if you cannot beat Donald Trump, you have to just come to grips with yourself. And people just don't like me. I'm not a natural campaigner. You know, bless her heart, in the last podcast, we had Miss Shamel, open Hillary supporter, has been since she was a little girl. Of course, I'm sure she's devastated today. I hadn't got the chance to talk to her. So you have people that really, you know, I had to tell my little girls that, hey, we don't have a girl president, you know, and that was tough because you just thought you just were emotionally prepared for Hillary to be president.
We were.
And for that just to change overnight, literally overnight, I think we're all just trying to grapple with our feelings and the uncertainty of Trump. Now, like you said, his acceptance speech it's about the most perfect tone you could have with his past. It makes you wonder, I think it made a lot of people go, okay, if he remains this way, we can work with him. But he is uncertain. He is our first non-military, non-political figure to ever be president. He's the oldest president elected, I believe now.
Okay, I didn't know. I thought Reagan.
I think
may
him
still
or
be.
Hillary would have been the oldest,
Okay.
and so I
Okay.
think they beat Reagan for that.
Okay.
So I don't know. We can wait till Franklin gets in here to weigh on policy and what we predict might happen. I think.
Here he is. Speaking of.
Okay.
Here's my question though, and this is something I do want us to consider as we're transitioning here. And I think this is a good topic. You're correct. Non-military, no political experience, businessman, surrounded himself with good business people. What does that say about the attitude of obviously the majority of Americans? What does that say about the attitude and the general temperature, if you will, of America today?
Yeah, I mean, he played the system, the Electoral College. You saw a fervent group of people who may have not voted in the last couple elections came out full force. Obviously, he struck a chord. He found some frustration that he played on, and he was able to also keep a lot of the traditional Republicans. I think when a lot of the Republicans who probably had been saying they just couldn't vote for him, maybe when they got in that voting booth thought, I mean, this is my party. You just never know how it happens. I was just so surprised at how many states he was able to win, and some of the surprise states that he won, some of the Democrat-leaning states. I mean, we're still shocked. And Mr. Franklin joins us now. How are you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah.
What's your initial, we're just basically talking about our initial emotions, the shock. Talk about your students, maybe how they were feeling.
I've seen a variety of things go on today. When I was out in the hall earlier today, the first thing I noticed was that there were certain people who were really, they were amped up. They were, oh man, our guy won, and it was the first election that they'd sort of been a process part of, and they were able to sort of maybe see some of the things that they wanted to have happen go, and I'm sure their families were excited about it too. On the other side, I saw people who were crying. They were blatantly down about this. They were obviously upset about the fact that it didn't go the way they thought it was, and it was really close. And I think that kind of hurt their feelings a little bit too. Sometimes it's easier to lose by half 100 than it is to lose.
I'd rather lose in a football game 50-0 than
that's what I mean. Yeah, in a
18-19.
football game, for example, you want to lose. If you're going to lose by a lot, you kind of get used to the idea.
Yeah.
But this was neck and neck all the way up into the wee hours.
Especially in
of
the
morning,
last quarter.
Yeah.
Hail Mary.
So, but I think most students have handled it really well. They've been supportive of one another. There've been a few instances where kids were like, well, there's a little gloating going on, that kind of stuff. But that was over pretty quickly. I think that it was important for us to sort of validate their feelings and to let them know that however you're feeling, positive or negatively about the whole thing, that's okay. And we had a good conversation about it in each class, saying, you know what, at the end of today, you can feel how you want to feel, and it's okay to express that emotion. But realistically, we're still all in this together, and the system is valid, and the system works, and it's designed to do it, and it did exactly what it was supposed to do. We have a clear winner. We have a smooth transition of power that's going to take place. You congratulate the winner for a hard-fought campaign. The winner congratulates the loser for trying the best they could, and we go on together to try to forge some sort of path for the future. So I think that ultimately, by the end of the day, at least the students that I saw, really harness that energy about it's still about us, and we're going to do what we need to do regardless of whether you agree with every single thing that happens next. It doesn't matter. It's all about America.
And our students, this is their first presidential campaign to go through. I mean, my students were 12 or 11 when this happened, and in 2012 it's so different.
And what a one to start with, huh?
Ooh.
Oh, I know.
They're not all like this, people. Okay, well, let's shift gears. Let's talk about, obviously we're shocked. So now we have President Trump. Let's talk about some of his main things that he has been promoting. Let's talk about his major policy proposals.
You want to start with the wall?
That's exactly what was in my mind first.
You want to start with the wall?
We can let's start with the wall.
All right.
Does that happen?
The wall has never
All right,
worked
well,
for anybody ever.
Okay, so here's kind of what I'm wrestling with. Does he block a considerable amount of Muslims from coming into our country?
Is he going to try? Yes. Is it capable? I don't.
I mean, obviously you can't do it by religion.
Now you're talking about blockades. Are you talking about like the physical wall? Or are you just talking about keeping certain people out?
Okay, so right now let's just the wall. Will the wall occur? In your
An
opinion?
actual physical manifested
beautiful wall.
No, and here's why. Because it is not economically feasible. You will spend trillions of dollars that we already don't have because we're dealing with other things. Even if you tried to raise that money, it would take you years to get that done. The building project itself will falter before it even gets started because you'll have so much opposition to it. And besides that, it will take decades. Let's say that we do allocate certain monies for it. It's going to take decades to get that done, and then you have to keep it maintained. And let's say even if you actually get it built, then you have to man it and guard it. So I think that for just the economic reasons alone, like the logistics of getting that done are far out of our reach. On an ideological aspect, I don't think that it's the best thing to do because two reasons. Number one, people fly over walls. Like maybe a wall works
Literally.
when you're China and people are actually just walking up to it and going, hey, dang, I can't get over that. But now we fly. Or we can sail around it, whatever it is. But secondly, most of the people that are in this country that are considered illegal aliens did not sneak across that border. They are here, and I've watched several different news sources on this to look at the statistics. The vast majority of them, let's say, I'm just going to put the statistics out there, I could be wrong completely, but it's something like 90% of the undocumented workers actually are here, or illegal immigrants are here because they were on a work visa or a student visa and they overstayed the visa and just didn't go home. So that wall doesn't stop that because they did at one time come in legally, they just didn't leave when the time was up. So a wall, even if you could build it, doesn't solve the problem.
All right, next issue. The deportation of illegal immigrants, which you just mentioned with the wall. Does that occur on a mass scale?
I don't see.
On the definition of mass
Mass
scale,
scale.
probably
well,
not.
He basically say we're going to round them up and their families, and then they'll come back in through the wall legally through the beautiful gate. Does that happen?
Did we talk about the number of immigrants that Obama has already sent out of the country? Like I think he has just recently sent like thousands of people out, and that doesn't get much press. I don't know.
How
why
many
that is.
illegal aliens have they been talking about? 11 million?
11 million.
Yeah.
Is that can't even the deportation force that you would have to it would and in some cities that have a suspected large population of illegal immigrants, it'd nearly be martial law
Let's
in some of those cities, Houston and
I mean, just once again, the economic aspect. The Border Patrol, the organization of the Border Patrol right now is essentially begging people, come work for us, for what they're trying to deal with right now. And then you add 11 million people that are already here trying to go this way. No, that's just...
All right, well, let's look at another economic aspect. What if you take 11 million people who are mostly working people in this country, then you take that workforce away and certain things aren't going to get done in this country, right? 11
'Cause
million,
look at the jobs
11
they
million
do.
jobs aren't going to get done now.
some below minimum wage.
Right.
Right, and
Like
so
painters.
now how do you make up the difference? Are we going to force other citizens to go and do this work, or is the work just not going to get done,
Raise
and
the
therefore we
pay.
have less production and less merchandise and goods that need to be out there in the public for our own consumer needs? Like we don't have those things, so I think that to massively deport people is, like I said, do you need to deal with illegal immigration?
Now, and-
Sure, but I don't know that this is the answer.
I want to point out some of the stuff we're talking about. He hasn't really hit hard in several months. A lot of this was
Right.
at the beginning of his
Right.
and got a lot of attention. The other big thing, of course, is the temporary ban on Muslims
Right.
until we figure out what's going on. That was in his.
I think
campaign.
I think that wordage has changed again because they just put out a video. The Trump campaign has put out a video now. President-elect Trump, what is his first day? What does his first 100 days look like? The wordage has changed now. It's not, we're going to ban all Muslims. It's we are going to put a temporary hold on the importation of the Syrian refugee
Which is a
program.
better way to put it.
It
probably.
is.
That's right. So does that mean that they're gonna try to do a better job of vetting? From what I've seen, like I actually studied
That's the
the vetting
narrative,
process,
yes.
and they're already very carefully screened before they're even allowed to approach this country. So I wonder what they could do more to make people feel better about what's about to, or say, no, sorry, you can't come in. I mean, I don't know. Like,
Well, and if you look at, like, let's use, for example, the Orlando attack as well as the Christmas party shooting last year in California. Those people
are Americans.
Americans. You know, it's not the refugees coming in, it's the people here.
All right, so the next issue, he's going to destroy ISIS. You know, that was one of his big things, is he's going to...
That'll be easier since ISIS is already on the run.
Right.
So
Since we're already kind of kicking their tail.
But is he going to do anything remarkably different from what we've been doing? Is there anything left that we should be doing in...
What's left besides actually put troops back on the ground?
Right.
And he has said he's been against that
So
the
I
whole
don't know where
time.
you go from there, yeah.
Okay, repeal and replace Obamacare with something terrific.
Which is?
Right. But he does have, and we need to mention this,
Yeah.
Republican-controlled House and Senate.
And Senate, right.
And that
President.
changed last night. The Senate changed
For the
last night,
first
didn't it?
time, and since W, we have a Republican, we have that, plus it looks like the court is now going to swing conservative
Right.
again.
They played that gambit, and they are going to win it. They held off, and we could argue about why they did or whether they should have, but that paid off in their favor, and so now they're going to get who they want because whoever he nominates, why would they not approve it, right? And so if we have another one drop out for from death or from just stepping down, they can get maybe two more.
This is the interesting one to me, is the Affordable Care Act, because so many millions are already under it to some degree, and Republicans since day one have hated this
How
thing.
do you repeal it? You just have to say, what's that process?
I would assume it would go through Congress.
Well, and look, think about it this way, too. You already have however many millions of people already in it. So how do you justify saying, yes, this system is kind of screwed up, we didn't do this very well, but we already have these people who have maybe better
I think that's what you
coverage
do.
than they have.
I think you can't uninsure
No,
these people.
because that's
so you
gonna,
have to provide
that's going to make
safety
all
net.
these people mad, and that's therefore not going to get you reelected next time because you've now taken away something that was benefiting them in a way.
So I guess removing some of the regulations on private insurance would occur to some degree. I'm not sure how you would restructure it without,
Just going away with it.
without doing away with it and coming up with something different. I know there
Have
of
they
course,
offered alternatives? I know Paul Ryan has said a few things, but I don't know what specifically.
maybe, and we forget there are powerful Republicans that are in the Senate. I mean, we think about Rand Paul, Rubio, these people that ran for
Didn't
president.
you need those guys to vote for it to begin with to
Yeah.
get it passed? So now they're going to say, nope, sorry, we were just kidding about that?
So this is the unknown. This is the unknown that Trump, we all agree, had said some crazy stuff that most candidates would never say and wouldn't survive saying. Trump was able to get by that. He obviously did a great job with the media. He's not going to be as swayed by special interest, it looks like. I mean, there's somebody coming from outside of politics. You wonder how much influence special interest groups, lobby groups will have over him if he's not economically burdened to them or dependent. Did he rely on anybody specifically to get him elected?
Yeah, this will be interesting to see how this plays out because if he, and I know he did take some campaign financing, but a lot of it he had sort of loaned his campaign the money himself, right? Especially at the beginning. And so now I think that he can probably step up and go, you don't own me and I don't have to do what I don't. And so that's a curious thing to see. And it'll be interesting to see what happens next because of that. Does he kind of go rogue for real? I know that Sarah Palin was big about, we're going to go rogue, but I think maybe he could.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's fear of the unknown. I think that's what everybody's trying to deal with. I think even Trump supporters, obviously these are fellow Americans that I don't think any three of us was really for Trump.
I thought going into last night that she had the
I
advantage.
thought she had it easily.
After about 7 o'clock, I was already changing. I'm like, oh, this is not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. And then by 10, I was sure.
Let me look at you continue, I'll show you.
I wonder if they, at what point the Trump campaign last night was like, dude, I think we got this. I mean, I wonder what point they actually were like, knowing.
At 10:36 p.m. last night, Ron Franklin texted me, CNN just called Florida for Trump. At 11:09 p.m., this is the text I got, President Trump, ...
Yeah.
Yep.
Which was the first two words I saw this morning when I woke up, not knowing. I just expected to see Hillary as president. I
did too.
I never put any serious thought in the fact that Trump would win. And mainly because the media was against him. Every late night talk show made fun of him. You got the SNL caricature of him.
You know that comedians are still
They're
kind of
gonna-
glad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I wonder what Alec Baldwin's reaction is.
I have a job for 4
I'm
more
sure he
years.
wasn't. Well, you wonder, is Trump going to let that slide? He can't shut that
Can't,
down.
no, that's
So
great.
you can.
And you know who else was super shocked?
Sedition Act.
You know who else was super shocked and surprised by the whole play of events is the freaking Clinton campaign, because she didn't have a speech ready last night to talk to her fans out there. That's
Well,
why she
you know-
waited until lunch today
Oh, is that the
to do
reason?
that.
Well, I
Well,
think-
that's not a spoken reason, but obviously
They
that has
said,
to be part of
well,
it.
they said after the fact that, well, she said she was going to, but she was really upset. No, what I think happened there is this, that you have to make a contingency plan just in case. But as close as it was, I think that there was still, maybe even this morning, the thought that we're still counting some things out. If it's really, really close, I mean, super close in some of these swing states, then maybe you set yourself up for a challenge, a legal challenge. And I think that she wasn't willing to go down the road that Gore did.
Right,
Back
'cause
in
we
2000.
talked about that recently.
Yeah, because he was like, okay, yeah, it's okay, congratulations, W, it's all you. And then all of a sudden they're like, dude, wait, look, there's a chance. And so then he had to retract it. I think that she wasn't going to go down that
Right.
path. So I think that while there was still a glimmer of hope, she wasn't going to concede because there could have been legal challenges that could have been put in place for a recount. When that became obvious that it's just not going to be a thing, then she goes, okay, fine. There you go.
Well, we were talking during lunch, socially, politically, economically. It's so unknown. We don't know if this is good for the country yet. Obviously, there's a lot, Trump comes with a host of concerns, but you know what? Hillary did too. Mm-hmm. We feel that if Hillary had won, it would be business as normal, status quo, the continuation of Obama rule to some
A
degree.
year ago, when we had this conversation, I completely dismissed his chances.
Yep.
And so that's a lesson to me.
Yeah.
It is just because it normally works that way doesn't mean it's always gonna work that way. Because he touched on some nerves that people wanted to. I mean, he's expressing some anger that some people who hadn't had that voice very well for them in the past, and that needs to be addressed too. If we're gonna be a holistic country, then we need to address everybody's concerns, right and left and centrist. So I think that maybe this is that moment where we go, you know what, we've been ignoring some folks, and they need to be. And so now maybe we all get better from here because of that, because we need to look at the psychology of what happened here, not just the fact that he won or she didn't. What brought us to this point, especially considering what I said a while ago, because we were all completely dismissive of the idea. I actually laughed out loud. I'm like, this guy's a joke. It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And now I'm.
How many times has he proven us wrong, though?
Right,
Over the course
every
of the
time.
year.
Right. Every time.
Well, here's the thing. This is what we were discussing at lunch. We threw around the idea of, does progress stop with Donald Trump? Obviously it doesn't, because as you said, with Hillary Clinton, we were getting the status quo. We were getting what we've had. Very few things were going to change during this. With Donald Trump, obviously, there is a movement in America that says, we are fed up with this crap. We need something to change. And so I think with that, we are going to see
Do you think there's
something
going to be
different
this
with
drain
that.
the swamp sort of thing continue?
I think in this first time, I'll answer you this way.
Is he
The
finally
first
going to pivot that we've been waiting on?
The first 100 days are going to show us how this goes.
Who
Yeah.
does he surround himself with?
Oh.
Do you think
I know. You know two for sure.
Giuliani's going to get
Yes, he's
something?
getting something.
Christie's going to get something?
You know who
Because
also might get something? Is freaking Ben Carson.
Carson.
Maybe.
Surgeon General.
Surgeon
Yeah, no,
General
I'm
Ben
serious.
Carson.
Last night in that
Secretary of State.
Christie?
I think maybe Christie, Attorney General.
Oh, Attorney General. Yeah, probably.
Well, I don't know. Either way, I could go, I guess. So, or Secretary of State. Probably Giuliani for Secretary of State. That's
Probably.
my
That's
thought. I don't know if that's.
Oh,
I may just be
people.
throwing that out there, but whatever. But the loyal, because they were, man. They wouldn't back down. They didn't bat an eye every time. And Christie was a loyal puppy. You saw that
Yes,
from
he
the very
was.
moment. Because I felt bad for that guy. Because I respected him up to a certain
I
point.
did too.
And then he's just like. He's like holding Trump's toilet paper at one point there during some of those speeches. He's like, "Come on, Chris, I gotta go," And he's just, "All right, sir." That's the way he seemed. But at the same time,
But let's look at past figures because we're history teachers.
Yeah.
If you look at Reagan, if you look at George Washington, I mean, we've had presidents that didn't know everything about geopolitics and the way foreign policy, the intricacies of all that.
you need to surround yourself with people who
That's
know
right.
what's going on.
Let's see who he surrounds himself with. Hopefully he can admit to himself that if he doesn't know something, that he doesn't know. What about Twitter? does he become POTUS on Twitter at his like Obama
President
had?
Clinton has said the job comes with the title of
Twitter-
the Twitter handle.
But
But that was when, but that's when Hillary. He said he was talking to Hillary. He said this comes with it. So
that's a little bit scary.
What do you think his relationship is with the Joint Chiefs? Because he's actually trashed the military several times.
Oh, yeah. And
not military, not soldiers, but the leadership.
If their plan is better than mine, I'll consider it. But I have my
If-
own plan.
yeah, so
This is okay. All of this, of course, we don't know, and it's speculation. It's going to be answered. I mean, obviously, Donald Trump is a great self-promoter. He's narcissistic to some degree, but let's see: can he really do what his acceptance speech seemed like he was going to do, which is open up and embrace? Can he bring
he has to learn
America together?
to be president.
for people who
Right.
don't know, just for when does Donald Trump select his people he's surrounded him with? What's the timeline on that?
I think that process
When's
is
that
already
going to
begun.
happen? Well, obviously, but when does that come out?
Oh, January.
Yeah, I'd say sometime in January, early February, when some of those cabinet positions become final. And it could go on past that. I don't think he cleans house. I think he keeps some folks that are qualified, I hope, to make an easier transition.
Do you think he reaches across and gets some Democrats in with him?
If he's
smart.
If he's
He needs
smart. Listen, our
This
country
wasn't-
is divided.
Well, I'm gonna say this.
So-
Though. This was not a referendum for him because clearly half the country was concerned. Right? No matter who won this election, I think that they needed to have a moment where they go, you know what? Half the people didn't care for me, and so this is not some sort of just landslide gold star that he's got free reign over the country because half the people are still like, I don't know. And so he's got
Oh,
to
it's more than
recognize
I don't
that fact.
know.
She would have to do well. I know she would have to do the same thing if she had taken the win. Neither one of them has a free pass. So if you try to spin it like it is, that's a danger because you do have very clearly half the country that did not want you to be that person.
Right.
And so you've got to figure out a way to reach out and go, look, I'm your president. You know, do you do that in some sort of belligerent manner and try to bludgeon people onto your side? I don't think that's going to be effective. So he's got to do the other, which is to reach out and say, look, we're all part of the same team. America matters. Let's all go forward together.
That's the
with
thing,
peace
is
and
because you
prosperity.
have groups of minorities that have felt offended by him. I mean,
Yep.
if you're talking Muslim Americans, the
How do you fix
Khan family, the calling John McCain, he wasn't a hero because he got captured.
How do you fix that? How do you fix that after offending all those folks?
You have to do it with action because words don't matter. So, exactly, how do you fix it? I don't know. But
What do you think her? I don't know if you guys already talked about this. What do you think her tripping point was? Tripping points?
Well,
perhaps?
I'll put it this way.
FBI?
Well, I mean,
The last like what week, 5 days, whatever. Donald Trump has gone through Pennsylvania to Wisconsin, doing that campaign route.
they told him to stay out of Michigan. There's no way that they would
Right.
vote Republican.
And so
He
what
went
I'm
anyway,
saying
yeah.
is I think the Clinton campaign went with the traditional there's no way they're going towards him and her ignoring that
Maybe.
and him saying, you know what, forget that, I'm gonna do it anyway. I think that's probably one of the biggest tripping points in the recent history of the election.
The numbers are starting to.
There's the bell.
The numbers are starting to come out. But I think that she didn't get as many of the female votes as she thought she would. She didn't get nearly as many of the minority votes as she thought she would. They didn't come out in the same numbers that she was hoping that they would. The Latino vote wasn't as strong for her. The African American vote wasn't as strong for her.
It just shows you once again that Hillary's not a appealing candidate because had
Yeah,
she been more appealing,
well, how do you? And I think that she had sort of chalked that up to almost like a given. Like, yep, they're going to be mine, and they just weren't. Not like she thought they would be.
Anyway, I gotta go drive my bus. You
Okay.
gentlemen have a great rest of the afternoon.
well, we're gonna finish this thing up. I guess we're getting close to time now. This has just been a day of. I wanted to get this recorded. This has just been a day of shock for us as history teachers and trying to deal with our students and trying
And we're
to.
dealing with our own. We're processing this too. so, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been talking about Trump. You know, I've said this before. The two things I want in a leader is calmness and smartness on the issues, intelligence. I don't, and I haven't thought that Trump possessed either of those, but yet now he's my president.
So
So we're going to.
we're going to support his presidency and, like I said, watch him grow as a person and as a politician because he's going to have to become one.
That's right. We are History After Hours. You can find us on Twitter at History Hours PC, or you can find us History After Hours on YouTube. We're going to try to get this one on SoundCloud as well. So there's a few places you can find us. We yammer on throughout the year. We're going to have one soon with some students, and then eventually, hopefully, a live one in front of the students right before Thanksgiving. And yeah, so if you are listening to this from a bomb shelter, 20 years from now, and this is where it all started to go downhill, I'm sorry. We didn't know what we were doing. However, it might be the start of something awesome as well. So
Let's be optimistic. It's going
That's
to go, yeah, America.
all right. We will see you on the flip side. Goodbye.